about your experience with him.
Um, I well, I'll start from the beginning. I
Yeah.
went in for a go see, and I had no idea what was gonna happen. And then I was told also that I was gonna meet this director, and I didn't know who Chris Carter was at the time. So I Googled him and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was telling my agent, you know what, I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could do this. And she kept saying, you can do it, Sandy. And I met him and he was such a nice guy. Amazing. And he's like, I'm like, I've never done this before. And he goes, well, I think you're gonna be fine. I know you'll be fine. And wow, look what happened. That was an amazing experience.
Well, what made you do something like this? I looked at your background and I don't, you haven't acted that long, right? So how is it that you decided to get into this?
Well, I went to school to a career change and I met this agent and she said, you have to sign up. I could really use you. So I started on just doing background and then I moved up and then I got this big part. I've never done prosthetics before. And when I went into the shop and they told me what they were gonna do, I was like, no, you can't do that. Because they had a picture of me and then a picture of an alien. And I was like, no, you can't do that. And then they said, if you let us do it, we could do it. And I said, well, okay. And then before I know it, they're putting plaster on my head. They're making a mold of my chest and my torso. And it's like, oh my goodness, that was my very first experience and it was amazing. It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, and your
Yeah.
entire body was covered.
Yeah.
Once the prosthetic was done and built, I mean, how long did it take you to get into all that?
Well, it took us 5 hours the very first time. Yeah.
But how much
Yeah.
fun did you have? I mean, the guys that do the prosthetics, the makeup, the effects guys are so amazing. How much fun did
Yes.
you have?
At first it was easy putting on the makeup. Putting on the prosthetics and everything was easy. Just I just have to have a lot of patience, meditate because it's a lot of work and it's a lot.
I imagine.
And yeah, the hardest part was taking it off because I have dry skin, so it like stuck to me. So yeah, it was hard. My skin was so red after, so that was the hardest part. Putting it on was not as hard.
You were in multiple episodes over the reboot. How many times did you have to get into that gear?
I'm thinking about 3 or 4 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then
But they were good.
were you in it extended periods of time? I mean, I know production and usually it's a long time. Were you in it for like a severely extended period of time? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. And then they had to feed me. They had to feed me because they had to make sure that my lips don't get touched.
oh right, of course.
Yeah, and then they had to make sure they did the top first and then the bottom last so I could run to the bathroom still. When I did one scene where I was in the desert crawling away, it was like in the middle of nowhere. It was 4 in the morning and it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
And I was wearing barely anything. But the amazing part is that I had an amazing crew. As soon as they said cut, I had people running to me with blankets and hot water bottles.
That's awesome.
So
You said you looked up Chris Carter when you came onto the show. Had you watched the X-Files prior to being on the show?
yes, I have watched the X-Files, but that was like a long time ago. So when I got the part, I rewatched it all and I got to know it better, but I never really knew who Chris Carter was at the time. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch the shows.
Me too. I mean, what was it like being part? You came back in the beginning of this reboot. So what was it
Mhm.
like coming back to a series that you loved? You know, you were a fan of the show, and knowing like you were going to be almost shocking the world when bringing this back. What was it like being part of it?
It was it was a little bit scary because I didn't know what to expect. I've never done acting before. I've never done this before, but looking back, that was just an fun, amazing experience and amazing people I worked with, and I would do it again. I would do it again.
What was your favorite memory from working on the show?
Working with Chris Carty, he was so nice, so polite, and he was like, "Sandy, can I get a picture of you?" I'm like, "Okay." And then after all that, it's like I should have gotten a picture of me and him. Yeah, he was phenomenal, and he was good. And there was one moment where he goes, "Okay, Sandy," and he whispers in my ear, and then nobody was expecting this. He goes, "Sandy, say your line." And then I said it, and everybody was like quiet there for a while because they were not expecting it. And yeah, that was a good part. It's in, and I found it. I found it in the bloopers.
Yes.
And then Chris Carter had a special chair made for me that said alien on it.
Why do you think a show like this is still so relevant 28 years after it was created?
Well, I believe in some of it. I believe in aliens. I was an alien. And I just like the mystery part. I like the cast and crew. Um I can't say anything. I liked it all. I love mysteries, and this was always kept me on my feet,
Right. So
kept
you
me
did,
wondering.
you did. The last question I ask is something we ask everybody who's involved in the show. If you could say something to the fans from the last 27 plus years, what would it be?
Hmm. Thank you for watching X-Files, being our great fans, and for not for the amazing opportunity. I had an amazing opportunity, and I'm so grateful. And we couldn't have done it without the fans.
That's all.
Thank you for reaching out to me, and I love to share my story because it was an amazing experience.